And okay, I'm ready.
What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome to Not Your Status Quo. Tonight, we're talking X-Men 97, Tolerance is Extinction Part 1, and The Bad Batch, the Cavalry, has arrived. But before we get into all of that fun, Doug, how you doing tonight, sir?
Well, Keith, let me tell you, I am so outstanding. I know I told you yesterday just how amazed I was at the episodes that we're going to be talking about tonight, but I mean, seriously, even today, I can't stop thinking about how good it was. Like how it's been a while. It's been a while since we had something this much fun, this good to talk about, and I'm so glad that we get to talk about good TV like The Bad Batch, like X-Men 97, and not Rebel Moon Part 2, the Blood Scorcher or whatever it's called.
Have you watched it yet?
Nope.
I have not either. Good, good.
The only reason why I watched Part 1 was for the channel. I wouldn't have watched it otherwise.
Me too.
So, hear that, everybody? Hear that, all of you out there on Twitch, on YouTube? The things that we do for you. Keep that in mind.
We saw Morbius, we saw Madam Web,
Oh, God, yeah,
we saw
did.
Rebel Moon Part 1.
We're going to see Craven for you. How does that make you feel? Look what you do to us.
You guys should be ashamed of yourselves.
You should be.
Uh,
But Keith, other than, feeling shame and depression over our life choices, how are you doing?
Doug, I am tremendous. Another fun day. Two great episodes this week. I mean, I feel bad because The Bad Batch has been so good, but it's completely overshadowed by X-Men 97 because
Oh, yeah.
X-Men 97 is just
Oh, yeah.
the pinnacle of a season, as far as I can tell. I can't think of another show that's been, every episode has been this good throughout a season.
Right? Like the only teeny tiny slip up was the Motendo episode, and that was about it. And even that, by compared to other things that we've seen, even that wasn't that bad. It just, could have been better compared to the rest of the season so far. But yeah, everything has been just a hit. Like I don't remember the last time I wanted to rate so many things a 10. It's crazy.
We've barely given out any tens in the entire time we've done this channel.
Right?
And X-Men
The
97 has
entire
gotten
time
the
we've been
majority.
doing this. Oh man.
Well, should we jump right into X-Men 97?
I don't know. I feel like it was so good, and you were correct that it sort of overshadowed Bad Batch in a way. I think we honestly ought to start with Bad Batch and then end on a high note with X-Men. What do you think?
I like it. Let's talk Bad Batch.
All right.
We got the series finale. The
The
Cavalry has arrived.
series finale of Bad Batch. Keith, I'm sad to see this show go. I really am.
Me too.
And
None of us were
I know that
excited about it. After
I know that
the-
our friend Rob from Attack on Show wasn't as excited about the series, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed a lot of it. Going back to the very first season, I will tell you that I wasn't as excited at first, and that's mostly due to their introduction in the final season of the Clone Wars. I thought, okay, this is just a cash grab. It's not going to be that good. And then when we actually got into it and we got to see Kanan Jarrus, and we got to see
Caleb Doom.
right, Caleb Doom, sorry. When we got to see execute Order 66 from another point of view. And oh man, just everything with them has been either exciting, fun, or hilarious. And you guys already know this, but I think one of my favorite characters that came out of this has been Wrecker.
Rika.
But
the
yeah,
show
I'm a
did
little
it-
sad to see it go.
Yeah. You know what? None of us wanted it after watching them in the Clone Wars. I mean, the Clone Wars did not do them justice. They
No.
were smart to bring this on a show and how they handled it. I mean, seeing Omega's character development throughout these 3 seasons has been great. And like when that Zillow Beast broke out, and they were like, Omega.
Right.
Like they knew. They
So
knew
this
what
must be Omega's doing. How do you know? Because it's what I would have done.
And I mean, we guessed some of it. We definitely were talking last week. I mean, I think a lot of people
Oh.
did. We're like, she's letting loose that Zillow beast to cause a
Hmm.
distraction. But even, once again, Hemlock wasn't so fooled by it. He got out those troopers, and he was seemingly had the upper hand for most of the episode
Hmm.
with his, super clones that he had out, and putting the gas when they were attacking, and he recaught Omega. But the Bad Batch perseveres. I really thought this whole time they were all going to die,
I thought so too.
and I was
Yeah,
happy
I
they didn't.
really thought, looking at how the Clone Wars ended, I really thought this was going to have a much darker ending. But they kind of went the Rebels route, and they ended on a bit of a high note, you
Yeah,
know? And they did also the same thing where, and I know, wow, I'm doing what Not Your Status Quo does best. I'm going to jump to the end real quick. We got a little jump forward, just like we did in Rebels, where in Rebels we got to see, Hera with her kid. We got to see Ahsoka getting ready to take off on a mission, and then we got to see, in the Ahsoka series where that actually fit into the timeline, which I believe that took place after Empire Strikes Back, right?
after Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi, right? Right. Thank you. Yeah, it took place after Return of the Jedi. So, obviously, now this is tying into like right around, I assume during the rebellion. I don't know whereabouts,
Well, it would
but
have to be at some point, either before A New Hope, like during Rebels, A New Hope, and
hmm
or because they call it the Rebellion, they don't call it the New Republic. Because she said she was going
true.
to
But
be a
wasn't it the
pilot for the Republic.
rebellion? Did they continue to call it the rebellion after A New Hope, or were they calling it? Were they strictly calling it the Alliance at that point?
No, they were still calling it the Rebellion after A
Okay.
New Hope. They called it that till pretty much after Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
Then they became the New Republic. So it's definitely at that point, which I don't know.
hmm
We know she made some friendships during this series with Hera, who was big in the rebellion. So maybe she's
Yep.
going to have some missions with Hera. Maybe we're going to see some action during, the original trilogy, perhaps, or we're going to see Omega hang out with her old pal Hera in Ahsoka season 2.
That would be really cool. You know what? I would be down to see a live action Omega or Omega. Sorry,
Yeah, say her name
I
right.
can
Come
think
on.
of a name. That's true. The children said it right.
She would be an excellent, trooper because she was
Hmm
trained by the Bad Batch. She knows all that stuff. She's a good pilot. I mean, they could make a good, side mission. She could be a big part of Ahsoka season 2 with Thrawn, in this universe. She could be a good part of, if it's called Heir to the Empire, the Filoni movie that's coming out,
hmm
because we've seen an amazing amount of character development, how she got there, all of her training. So it wouldn't be like another Ray situation where we're like, wow, she's pretty deft with the Force with never training it. We've seen her training over the car, except for the adults who won't
hmm
watch cartoons. But it'd be great, and I can only think that's what they're doing by having that ending the way it was, which was still, man, got me a little choked up when Hunter was like, "We're too old to be doing that now." But I can't stop you. Do what you got to do. He knows. He knows what the Empire is. He would never, try to stop her. And it was a really good ending.
hmm
It was just Hunter. I thought for sure we'd see Crosshair and, Wrecker, but we didn't, and we didn't need to. They did a great job with her sneaking off to that ship.
Yep.
Where
Well, trying to
Visages,
anyway.
yes, and then Hunter waiting for her.
hmm And of course, it would be him. He is the tracker after all.
Yes, he would be the one who would definitely see it. And we even got, you know, can't say it enough. They did not overdo any type cameo stuff in this entire
No.
series. Darth Vader didn't show up in this episode to kill the Bad Batch. The one thing we got, which I thought was very fitting because of how Tarkin
Tarkin.
is. Yeah, Tarkin
Yep.
showing up and then saying, okay, this is a completely lost
And then
cause.
he mentioned Project Stardust. I
Yep.
love that. I was waiting for him to say something. And as soon as he said, okay, divert all funding to Project Stardust, I'm like, the Death Star. Okay. Good.
Which fit fit. We've seen Tarkin in this series. We know how he is, how ambitious he is. We know it, leads to him being a Grand Moff. So it was great seeing it. It was, he shows up. It's completely out of control. Hemlock thinks he's got the upper hand. He's making good choices. He's not making these bad choices. And, the just Bad Batch's training and perseverance ends up winning the day because he thought by, intimidating these people, he would get their way. And they just weren't buying for it. And we saw that with everybody. Seeing Nala Se, making sure she got rid of all of that information so it couldn't be used
The
by the
sacrifice that she made. And was she the last Camino?
As far as we know, yes.
The last Kaminoan, I guess?
Yes.
Wow.
As far as we know, yes.
That's rough.
It was great seeing Rampart get what he deserved. Because,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I had I'm like, maybe he's going to, join the rebellion. Maybe. Then I'm like.
I knew there was no way. As soon as they just showed him in a cell, and I'm like, I don't trust him.
Well, when I saw him in a cell, I no longer thought it. Leading into this episode, I had thoughts that we may see Rampart decide that he wants to, do the right thing. But yeah, he was Rampart to the end.
He's way too self-serving.
Yeah.
But I love the look on his face once he realized what was about to happen.
Yeah, now he did not expect her to sacrifice herself too.
Shoot, I didn't either. Yep. But then again, we never see her outside of Clone War, or I guess outside of Clone Wars, we didn't see her outside of Attack of the Clones, outside of this series. So, yeah, it would stand to reason.
And she has the scientific mind, and she knew she had to get rid of all that data. She did not want it to be used for what he eventually uses it for. Somehow
they really did. They really did keep me on the edge of my seat. I did not, and I know that we were saying this leading up to the end. This final episode, we did not think the Bad Batch was going to make it. We thought for sure that the clones are going to, bite the dust, and I really did think, up until towards the end, I didn't think that Crosshair was going to make it. I didn't think that Wrecker was going to make it. Especially, Wrecker hobbling around with that injury as bad as it was.
I was starting to think that Crosshair was going to stay with Wrecker and provide cover for Hunter and Omega to escape at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But they were good enough and talented enough to make it all out alive.
Give them a hand. Ooh, too soon?
Yes. What is it? What is the obsession with Star Wars and cutting off hands?
I don't know, man. I wonder if that was like a stipulation by George Lucas. All right, you can make the Bad Batch, but I swear to God, if you don't cut off somebody's hand, I'm going to be so upset. I'm going to take it back.
And Tundra Walker. I don't know why the movie is called No Time to Die when it's 2 hours and 43 minutes long.
Is that a James Bond movie?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He's making jokes out in the chat. But we'll research it, we'll come up with a theory, and we'll tell you why we have to watch 2 hours and 43 minutes when there is no time to die. But we're talking the Bad Batch. Hopefully you watched it, Tundra Walker. I don't know if you're a Bad Batch fan or not. It's definitely worth the watch. Especially...
It is. Don't let anyone convince you that these animated series aren't good. They are. They're so worth the watch. You've got to give them a try.
And it's going to lead into, some live action. Definitely, we're getting live action. I shouldn't say that. We're most likely getting live action Omega. We're definitely going to get some more Omega
If they
stories.
can give us live action Hera and live action Ahsoka, I can't imagine why we wouldn't see some of these other characters that we spent this much time with.
Yep. And, Emery joined up with Echo and Rex in helping other clones, so we might see something or hear something, what's been going on. Maybe we'll even find out Omega had been helping them run missions and stuff. Because I can't imagine Omega has just been sitting on Pabu all this time. She was probably... I can't imagine the Bad Batch is just sitting on Pabu either. They're probably doing what they can to help. I don't know if we'll get a Tales of the Bad Batch to get some.
That would be nice. I would like to see, like, catch up with them at different points, like, right after they left Mount Tantus, during the rebellion, after the rebellion, maybe then, we get into the fall of the New Republic days, like if they're still hanging around. I don't know how long the clones actually live, but
Well, we know some clones, are still alive during the Mandalorians and stuff.
right, but I'm wondering, like, in the new sequel timeline,
Oh, right. Yeah, that might be a little too long.
might be pushing it.
Yeah,
The
because
accelerated growth, yeah. And Tall Guy is in the chat. He said, just here for a quick sec, but Crosshair hit the shot with Omega's handcuffs. Yeah, he did. Finally.
yep,
Good for him, too.
he was a little worried about it, but he definitely nailed it. And I like
Hmm.
you see Omega tap too on her arm, like they have all these plans already
Yeah.
worked out. They know
Mm,
they get in a situation like this, they have a plan for it. And it was good
yeah.
to see, and it was good to see, Crosshair under pressure, knowing he had to do it to save Omega's life, came through. And then, poor good guy Hemlock, just trying to do science. And they
Yeah, sure.
blasted him like
That's
three or
okay.
four times.
I wonder, like, how many other projects they were working on other than Project Necromancer and the Zillow Beast thing. I wonder what else they were doing there. Because clearly they had a large staff. It was a big building. They had to have been working on other things as well. So, like, I know that Tarkin doesn't seem to realize that there was much loss. He didn't know what was going on, so he didn't have much faith in it otherwise. But I wonder, like, how badly the Empire actually lost, like what they really lost out on, other than the Palpatine clones, the brainwashed super troopers, and the Zillo Beast and everything. Like, what else did the Empire like really lose when they lost Tantus?
See, and the thing that made me laugh as a former IT guy, when
Hmm.
Nala Say blew up the data, I'm always like, you always have an offsite backup.
Well, Hemlock, yeah, I could see him doing that. So it's possible. And we were wondering, this is one of the things that we were talking about leading up to this episode. We know that Project Necromancer, and it does go by that name, we know that it picks up in the time of the Mandalorian. So clearly there must have been files somewhere for Moff Gideon to discover and start implementing. And then obviously, Palpatine somehow returned
They
in The Rise of Skywalker.
they did figure it out. And what if we get a little tidbit? We know they're after Grogu because of his high end count stuff. What if they find
Hmm.
out Omega is still alive? And she starts being hunted for Project Necromancer again. Because if they did have an offsite backup thing and maybe, Moff Gideon got a hold of it and knew, and he
Hmm.
finds out, oh, this Omega is still alive. Maybe they try to capture her again. Maybe she gets caught and is the final piece to complete Project Necromancer 20 years later.
Yeah, that's very likely. I could see that.
And I wonder if some of the other things they had going might have anything to do with, you know, things that Grand Admiral Thrawn may be getting into now that he's returned to this galaxy. And the only reason I say that is because part of the Timothy Zahn Heir to the Empire trilogy, he
Hmm.
was at Mount Tantus trying to get all of that good stuff in, to help his fight against the New Republic and the rebellion. So we may
Ah,
see something along those lines because there was two buildings. If you notice, there was two buildings there, and I don't think they both
hmm.
got destroyed. So maybe the Project Necromancer stuff, the Zillow Beast information, and all that stuff was destroyed, but there was another facility right across the way, and they could have
Hmm.
been doing anything. Maybe just normal cloning or something along those lines. But they may have something that comes back. Could be more animal training. Could be more, you know, more Zillow Beasts, live action Zillow Beast. That was great seeing it though. I really enjoyed seeing her free that Zillow Beast, and it's just going wild.
And they're sitting there shooting that little electric beam at it like that's gonna stop it. Oh, you poor dumb fools.
I do laugh at all these things that anyone who walks up to any computer in any facility knows how to work it and turn
Hmm.
stuff on and off. But I guess I don't want to sit there and watch them trying to figure it out for 45 minutes either. So it's probably better this way.
Imagine, imagine that's the entirety of the episode. Boop boop. Shoot, hold on. Boop boop boop. Shit, that wasn't it either. All right. Wait, why is that popping up now?
And we know one other thing that was going on in that base was Hemlock converting clones into those brainwashed troopers, whatever we want to call them, because he tried to do it to Hunter, Wrecker, and Crosshair.
Yeah, yeah. Eh,
So,
and then he said real deviously, "If you survive." Which, by the way, okay, not to fully tangent. I'm gonna just a tiny tangent, not a full tangent, but tiny tangent. I did not look it up, so correct me if I'm wrong, and if you happen to know, is it the same voice actor of Bastion and Hemlock? Are they the same voice actor? Because boy, do they sound similar.
they kind of do. I don't know if it is.
Hmm.
We're gonna have to look that up because that's a good
Yeah,
call.
yeah. Because I was, obviously I was watching them, and I'm like, I'm just so impressed at how calm, cool, and collected he is, like thinking he's gonna get away with all this.
Oh, he thought he was in control to the bitter end, and that was just, you know, very well written, very well
Hmm.
executed. I mean, the animators, Kevin Kiner doing the music and everybody, such a wonderful way to wrap up this series. Did some things that we all kind of saw and expected, but did some other things we didn't. Left us wanting more, giving us that little tidbit that we're definitely going to see these characters again. And it wasn't anything crazy, just her, hey, I'm going to join the rebellion because it needs pilots.
Okay, no, they are two different people. So for the Bad Batch, Hemlock is played by Jimmy Simpson, and Bastion is played by Theo James.
I should have remembered that because Theo James had said he had a voice. He said it was a fan favorite. And so everyone was like,
Hmm.
oh, we can't wait to do it. And I remember when Bastion finally showed up.
But they both have that very similar cadence in the way that they speak. Okay, my tangent time is over.
Excellent, excellent. I mean, sad it's over, but happy they
Hmm.
wrapped it up nicely. I mean, we always worry about good shows doing a bad job on the series finale and messing things up, but nothing in this episode was poorly done, in my opinion. I know some people have problem with the pacing of this show, but I mean,
Hmm.
they took their time. They didn't rush anything. I mean, did a good job of setting everything up. Things in previous seasons led to this, and how things were going and what's going on. So, the only thing that this isn't even a nitpick, but you know, we knew that Project Necromancer was going to fail at this point just because of what's going on.
Yeah.
But they still executed it well, and it was still interesting, and definitely, the things we didn't know, like who might survive, who might not survive, was really handled well this entire episode. And then we had, pretty much a happy ending, much happier than I thought it was going to be. And it was heartfelt, and it was touching seeing, Omega leaving and Hunter talking to her, and, Crosshairs, you know, comeback. I'm trying to think of what that's normally called, redemption, after what happened. Everything just handled well. These characters, I hope we see more of them. If we don't, that's fine too.
Hmm.
We're definitely seeing more Omega, but we just need more Lucasfilm animation.
We
Yeah.
do. And in this kind of style, because I know I mentioned this a few episodes ago, but you can tell it getting better and better and better. Now, I'm sure a lot of it does have to do with that, got that Disney money, but it has definitely improved. If you go back and you watch like the first two seasons of Clone Wars, it's pretty rough. Pretty rough. Could be better. I was never a huge fan of Rebel style of animations. I know they're trying to go for what's his name, that artist who makes, the skinny lightsabers and had very angular designs. On a poster, they look good. I do like those posters, those early designs that they had for the characters. I just don't think it worked well in animation. But I really liked the final season of Clone Wars. Looked amazing, looked very good. Tales of the Jedi looked great, and Bad Batch looks great. Really good, solid animation.
Yep, let's keep doing what they do great. I mean,
Hmm.
it's funny because I don't think any of us like the first couple seasons of the Clone Wars. I really enjoyed Rebels. I thought Rebels. I wasn't the biggest fan of the animation style, but it didn't bother me because I thought the story and the characters were so strong. And it was funny because when I first saw Rebels, I'm like, oh, what a shock, a Mandalorian. Oh, and we got, I was like, oh, here we go. They're just, but Sabine, sorry, Sierra, was a great character. Kanan and whiny Luke, or I'm sorry, whiny Ezra. They all turned out, to be great characters, well written, and we got, really well done show that ended, once again well, and we're getting characters there in live action that we need. So they know what they're doing. I do hope they keep this style of animation though. They'll probably change it up for another show. Just don't ever do Resistance again.
Ugh, I forgot that existed.
I, I try
You
to
know,
forget too.
the other thing that I hope they don't change. I hope this is something that they continue onward with. I hope they aren't afraid to tackle these I don't want to say adult themes, but more serious tones, more serious themes. Like one of the things that I've appreciated most about this season is the way they handled Crosshair. His character growth throughout this season and the fact that he was dealing with trauma, dealing with issues, and they didn't just get over it in a single episode. The fact that it didn't resolve until, I mean, I guess his hand was cut off. The fact that that happened, that they allowed that to play out for this entire season, that was good. The fact that they allowed him to go from a good soldier, good soldier follows orders, all the way to, you know what, you're right. I was turned on, and I should have appreciated my brothers. I should have, I should have seen through the BS.
And his relationship with Omega started in season
Yeah.
one, where they were like sitting in that one thing, and she's like, "I can feel, your trouble and stuff." He kind of blew her off, but she never, didn't leave
Never gave up
Cantus
on him.
without him. Yep, kept up, and finally, won him
Hmm.
over. And it was not just a one episode. Oh shucks, we're
Yeah.
friends now. It really,
No, it took through the entire series.
it really took through her taking him out of Tantus and not leaving him behind. And he realized, and we still got that great scene where the two ships are on opposite ends of the screen, and Crosshair standing on one and Hunter and Wrecker over here, and
Hmm.
Omega's kind of here, and then she's like smiling at him, and they're both like, "How dare you be here?" Just so much goodness. Let's Lucasfilm, please give us the next series. Hopefully, it'll be maybe after Tales of the Empire on Saturday, which I'm looking forward to. That's already got some reviews, which have seemingly been very positive.
Oh, nice. I haven't seen any of the reviews yet.
I haven't read them
Okay.
too deeply, but I know Charles Murphy over at the Murphy Multiverse liked it. A
Very
couple
cool.
that have said, those that have seen it have really enjoyed it. So it's you know just like the Tales of the Jedi, just well
Good.
crafted,
Good.
really well done, excellent animation. So yeah, we're in for a treat. Just announced a new show, Lucasfilm.
I watched through Tales of the Jedi a couple of times. I've said this before, but I love the development that they gave to Count Dooku. I'm glad that this is something that these Lucasfilm animations that they're doing well. They're taking a lot of these almost forgotten characters or underdeveloped characters, these undercooked storylines that George Lucas didn't really put a whole lot of effort in. Like to this day, I still don't understand what the thought process was with all right, let's kill Maul, and then we're going to introduce two brand new villains. We're going to have, Dooku, and then in the last film we're going to have Grievous, and nobody's ever going to have heard of these guys. We're going to kill them off unceremoniously, and it's like, that's a bit of a shame. They really deserve to be explored more, and that's what I'm happy that these animations have been able to do, especially Tales of the Jedi. It gave us a lot more in the way of kind of understanding his mentality and seeing where he came from.
Yeah, the Count Dooku was great. We got so much more depth to a character that people liked, but was not, wasn't Attack of the Clones basically. He died
Hmm.
early in Revenge of the Sith, just like Maul got so much additional character development after the
Yes.
Phantom Menace, which I will be seeing Saturday with my family. I'm very
Really?
excited for the acolyte scene that we get supposedly with the movie, so that'll be good. But speaking of,
Ah,
do you?
so there is a purpose to see it.
Oh my God, what were you just talking about? I had a
I was
story.
talking about Tales of the Jedi, Dooku.
Oh my God, I had a story that I had heard and I can't remember what it's about now. God, I'm
Oh,
getting old.
sorry.
No, no, it was about what you were talking about. It reminded me of it, and now I can't remember what the heck it was.
Something about Phantom Menace? Star
Nope,
Wars Day?
nope.
Hmm.
Well, that's silly. But we get, and it's nice too because we get. Oh my God, what's her name? From the Clone Wars, we get some more with her. I can't think of her name right now. Who was
Ahsoka?
no, no. We got Ahsoka
Oh,
on Tales of the Jedi. Her,
okay.
the girl who
Oh,
framed her.
oh, the girl who framed her. Yeah. Oh gosh, what was her name? Shoot. Why can't I think of it? You looking it up?
Yep, because Barisafi.
Barasafi. Okay.
Yep, she was such a cool character, and she had a great arc when she was in the Clone Wars. So it'll be nice to see it.
Hmm.
Seeing her kind of joining or trying to join the Inquisitors, that'll be cool.
Now, will it be like the comics? Is she gonna lose a limb or two?
I would assume so.
Yes. Vader. Oh, gosh. When I went back and I was reading that stuff, and I think I was reading in preparation for, we did a while ago. Now it's been, we did an in focus on the Inquisitors and the Inquisitorius, which was the group, the actual group of the Inquisitors. We did an in focus on them, and I went back and I read a lot of these comics about, how they were founded, how Vader asked the Emperor for this to be kind of his pet project, and how crazed he was in their training regimen, and how he essentially wanted them to be fueled by hate and pain and anger the same way that he was, because that's all he knew of the Sith is this is how you fuel the dark side energy. This is where it comes from. And for him to just be like, "Oh, okay, well, you failed in this mission. I'm going to cut an arm off. You failed. I'm going to cut off your foot." And I remember at
Yeah,
one point in one of the pages of the comic, um, the Grand Inquisitor is looking at him like, if you keep doing this, we're not going to have any Inquisitors left, dude.
yeah. It was the Grand Inquisitor who was basically like, "This
You gotta, you
isn't
gotta slow your roll,
sustainable,
bud.
dude." Yeah, but those Darth Vader comics were tremendous.
Yeah.
Oh man, I need to reread those. Those were so good. I keep up
Um,
on Marvel Unlimited with all of the Star Wars comics.
love my Darth Vader comics.
Yeah, nice.
They're good.
And Tundra Walker said, "Charlie Murphy, what did the hand say to the face? Slap." It's very
Hmm.
true. Thank you, tall guy. Not sure what that is in reference to, but that is a great
That
scene.
was a Chappelle show skit.
No, no, I know. But I
Oh,
wonder what we
oh.
were talking about that.
I don't think we're talking about anything that would have applied to. It's not that I can think of directly. But then again, my memory is not very great. So,
As
you
I
know.
say, both of us have that problem.
What were we talking about again?
I have no idea. No, the Bad
Oh.
Batch. But
It's right there.
I had to look at the screen.
What are we talking about?
Should we rate this episode the series finale of the Bad Batch?
I think we should. You know what? Let's do this. First, let's give a rating for this episode, and then let's give an ultimate rating for the entire series.
I like
What do
it.
you think?
I like it. Everyone out in the chats, if you guys want to give us your thoughts on this also, please do so.
Yeah. Yeah, let us know in the chat if you're watching us live. Later on, if you're watching this on YouTube, let us know in the comments below. What is your rating for this series. Did you watch it all? Were you excited for the series finale? Were any of your theories, as correct as all of ours, as we are 100% correct about everything?
It was funny because I don't know if you saw. I wanted to do a short. We last Sunday we were going to do a what's next for the series finale. We ended up
Uh,
not doing it, but I had a bunch of notes. And I was going to make a
oh,
short on my predictions. I ended up not doing it, so I just tweeted out a bunch of stuff. And I was wrong on most of
and
that.
oh,
I was right about the Zillow bees, but I was like, they're going to die. I thought for
I
sure.
thought they were too. Like it seemed like that was the direction they were going in. I thought for sure, oh man, they're gonna give this a dark ending. That's how they're gonna, leave us. We're gonna just see like a hardened um Omega that's like on the path for revenge, and like she doesn't have proper force training. So if she does discover that she's attuned to the force, that was one of my theories. I thought for sure we would see her finally tap into it in this episode, but I at the same time I am glad. I guess I'm getting into my rating. Sorry if you were getting ready to
No,
say
go ahead,
anything,
do it,
but
do it, do it.
one of the things that I'm sad but glad about at the same time, if that makes any sense. I was hoping that they would allow her to tap into the Force in this episode. That was definitely one of my theories. I thought for sure, okay, they're finally going to give us a payoff that we've been waiting for. But instead, what they did was they allowed her to utilize all of the soldier training that she received from her brothers. And so that was also good. I did like that. I loved the acknowledgement from Echo. I loved that he actually said, well, that was clearly Omega's work. Oh, how do you know? Because it's what I would have done. She clearly she created a distraction. She drew their fire elsewhere, and like he actually laid it out like this was a tactical plan, and she pulled this off like a couple of times. Like her way of thinking, maneuvering, getting all those kids out, like that was excellent. Now, I know that I complained a little bit in the previous episode by saying there's no way that she should have been able to, make it through that wall and back as quick. I thought that was a little, you know, wasn't sure about that one. But the way that she was able to concoct this plan over the course of these past couple of episodes, figure out exactly how they were going to do this. They were going to pry off the panels. They were going to use the robot. I love that. I love that they took control of that robot and had to trank the doctor, because that's something that I kind of forgot about. Like we knew that Dr. Carr was on their side, but there were other scientists. Kind of forgot we had to deal with them. So the fact that she had this all planned out, that was great. I love that she was able to get all those kids out safely, that she was able to, as you pointed out, I love that you mentioned when Crosshair was getting ready to take a shot, she was kind of pointing and like letting him know, and it was yeah, that was great. It was great. Um all in all, I was mostly pleased with this episode. I did think it was going to turn out a little bit different. And on one hand, I understand what they were going for with the type of ending. Like I said, it's very similar in a way to Rebels, where around this time frame, they're letting us know, okay, we're entering New Hope territory. Therefore, we need to end on a hopeful note, or we're entering New Republic territory. We need to be a little bit more hopeful for the future. So I get why they did that. They gave us a nice wrap it up in a bow, happy ending. We got to see Omega grown up, got to see her, taking off, being a part of the rebellion, um, being a pilot. I didn't, I guess I didn't realize that she had developed flying skills. I knew that her tactical skills were really good. She was a very good tactical like leader and coming up with plans. I would have figured she would have been more of a ground troop person, but either way, I am glad to see that she ended up joining the rebellion. It was nice to see grown up Omega. It was nice to see that, everything kind of worked out in the end. Um, so true to life, having Tarkin come in, totally misunderstanding everything and like, okay, well, I'm sure there's nothing of value here. Put it all into my pet project. Oh, I thought it was good. I'm gonna give this episode, and by the way, I also think it should have been a bit longer. It was fine, but I think it still could have deserved just a bit more time, just like the pilot episodes. But I'm gonna go ahead and give this And I'm gonna give it an 8. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. I think that's fair. It was a good episode. There was a few parts that I guess pacing issues. I don't know if I really want to call it that, but overall it was pretty good. It could have been better, but it was pretty good. I was satisfied.
Yeah, for the most part, I agree with you. I didn't feel like this episode had any pacing issues whatsoever. I thought when it was over, I was like, I think that was the right length for this episode. There wasn't much downtime. We got from here to here. The
Oh
story
yeah,
was moving
sorry.
forward.
I should have clarified. I didn't feel like there was too much downtime. I felt like they were rushing things. And that's why I said that it should
Oh,
have
got
been they should have given it more time.
got it.
Yeah, sorry.
I still feel like it was the perfect amount of time. I think they was under that pressure situation. Things were moving fast. They needed to move fast to stay one step ahead or try to keep up with Hemlock. The music was great. All the voice acting was great. Animation was great. Really good ending. I agree. There was when you dropped that theory that Omega's force powers were going to kind of come unleashed when she sees her brothers die. I was like, that is such a great theory. I would have loved to have seen it. I'm not upset they didn't do it
Yeah.
because I loved it because I thought,
Like I said, I'm equally happy the route that they did take because they did give her something, some growth, which I was happy with.
and they were very, kind of half Andor, half Clone Wars in the sense that we didn't get a lot of cameos. They didn't overdo the cameos. We got Fennec Shan, we got Cad Bane, we got a few here and there, but they didn't overdo it, and especially in the final episode. This final episode was about the Bad Batch in Omega. No one showed up to help them. Rex didn't show up with a bunch of clones to bail them out, which I thought for sure the Cavalry was going to be. This was the series finale of the Bad Batch, and they were highlighted in it, and they, made the most of it. They showed their skills. They showed all of the things they taught Omega, and why they were able to all escape was because she was a good learner, and she was a good soldier, followed orders. She worked with,
but not like that.
not like that. Yes, she listened to Tech. All that time she complained about Tech making her go over all the plans and memorizing them, paid off in the end. And I just thought it was executed really well. I absolutely enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
And at some point, I will definitely watch The Bad Batch again. And I think for the final
I probably will
episode,
too.
I'm going to give it an 8.5. Solid, enjoyable, everything I want out of a Star Wars animated series. It was nice. They went the opposite way of the Clone Wars in the sense that it was almost all about Jedi almost in the clones. Really wasn't any Jedi at all in any of this.
Barely any, yeah.
And that was, I thought that was a nice touch because obviously the story of the Inquisitors and the Jedi and everybody else is going on other places. And a tale for another time, perhaps. They kept this very, very sync with just the Bad Batch and what's going on with them.
I think the thing that I appreciated about this also is we were able to have the Bad Batch experience the sort of fish out of water effect of like not understanding midichlorians or Jedi stuff because they never worked with the Jedi. They were always their own team. They didn't work with a Jedi general. So whenever that kind of stuff was mentioned or whenever it would come up, they were kind of in the dark about it. Like they were sort of aware, like, oh yeah, the Jedi were our generals, and that's why I think Hunter was hesitant to, shoot them, especially shooting the kid. But they also weren't really fully aware of what they did, what their purpose was, what kind of powers they had, anything like that. And I like that because on a grander scale, it goes to help explain like Han's reaction in A New Hope when he's like, "Oh, that hokey old religion." Like you have to imagine there were plenty of people who just like they knew the Jedi existed, but they didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, and because the Jedi were on the run, hidden path, or just being hunted down by Vader and his Inquisitors. So yeah, definitely. And I forgot too. Echo did plug into that databank.
Yeah.
He could have stored some of that information. He may have some of that data.
Oh no. Oh, so they could be after him too.
And maybe that's where Moff Gideon gets it from. Maybe he,
Mm.
takes, finds them or on a mission, gets Echo, takes that data away. It was probably not a smart idea for Echo to download that. And that way. That may be
I
how
didn't even think of that.
Project Necro. I just thought of it because I was thinking about it. I was like, oh wait a
Mm.
minute, Echo had his hand in there and trying to understand what was going on because he obviously now
Mhm.
can tell everyone what really was going on. At least with Project Necromancer and the clone's blood and everything they were doing there. They may not have had all the data for the Zilla Beast and everything else, but word
He
word
would
can
have
get
at
out.
least had that stuff.
Yeah, word can get out just
Yeah.
how bad the Emperor and the Empire really is.
And that would explain why somebody like Moff Gideon would have had not only the project name, the original project name, but know that he needed someone like Grogu in order to make it advance. The
Yep,
fact that he needed a cloner and he needed blood with a high M count.
yep. And so he got it from somewhere. Maybe it was Echo. Way to go, Echo. Because of you, Palpatine somehow returned.
Uh, all right, so should we rate the series as a whole?
Yes, yes, we should.
All right. Um, don't think that I'm being negative. I'm not trying to do that. I think this is actually being rather nice. I was not a huge fan of the previous season. This season was mostly okay. There was like one or two episodes that were not great in my opinion. I think could have been a lot better. Um, but most of this season was really good. The last season, not so much. There's a lot of filler in the last season. A lot of you can tell like they were trying to create. Who was it that mentioned that they show these on Disney XD or something like that? Somebody had brought that up in one of our streams, and we were like, "Oh, is that why they create so many like of these little filler episodes? So that way they can just show them out of order on TV." And apparently that was the goal behind the last season of The Mandalorian too. It's so that way they can just pop them onto TV and they don't have to be in any specific order. But I was a little disappointed with the previous season. Um, a little disappointed with a couple of the episodes in this season. I know that I complained a little bit in the first season where, it seemed like they were trying to speed run Omega's character growth, and I'm glad they kind of slowed it down a notch, kind of let us actually experience her learning. And as he pointed out, Tech showing her things, all of the clones showing her different things. Like even Hunter would spend time with her and like, no, really look, what do you see? Oh, so it was nice to actually see her get that proper character development because I remember at one point they showed us an episode she was in Sid's bar and she was like just dominating everybody at this game. We're like, I know all of us kind of said the same thing. Where'd that come from? They never once implied that she was like some sort of expert at games or whatever. So I'm glad that they let that breathe eventually. So I'm gonna give the series as a whole. I think I'm gonna give it a 7. The series as a whole, because like I said, there was a almost all of last season was a bit of a shortcoming. There were very few episodes of the last season that I can confidently say were really, really good. Most of it was kind of like it was a bit of a slug to get through. But this season, almost everything was great. And when I think about most of the first season, almost everything was great.
Yeah, I agree. I really enjoyed the first season. That was great. All them being trapped on Camino when it was being destroyed by
Hmm.
Rampart. Season two, I'm not
The
as
reveal, the reveal of Crosshair saying, "Oh no, I got my chip out a long time ago."
yeah.
That was so good.
That was so good. And we got season two. I'm not as down as you. It was seemingly, and I don't know if they weren't sure how long this was going to last. And season two was almost that season where they're like, well, let's add some filler here and there. They treasure
Hmm.
hunting. Count Dooku's treasure at that one point they were looking for on that planet.
The race.
Yeah, the race. They had some less than great episodes, but I still thought all of them were at least average at worst.
The
And
Crosshair episode was really good though.
yeah,
Last
oh my
season.
God, that Crosshair
That was
episode
one of
was
the
one of the
best.
best. So, we got a lot of great in one. We got two, which was not so great. I thought three really did a great job of, wrapping things up. I really think season two, they weren't sure how long it was going to last. They started doing weird stuff.
Yeah.
And then they decided it's only going to be 3 seasons so they could tighten up that writing again. And I think they got it. They brought things full circle. We saw, Omega's just entire relationship with the Bad Batch and how they all treated her as, their kid and how she was. And nothing was raced, nothing was rushed. It was just a nice little story. 3 seasons of seeing some of our favorite clones who we never thought we were going to like in a very dark time. And I think you're right. The way they wrapped it up with a little bit of hope in some of the darkest times in that galaxy was handled extremely well. But I'm gonna bring it down the rating from the last episode for the entire thing because I do think 2 kind of slugged it up a little bit. But I'm gonna give it an 8.2. I mean, I really think overall it was quality storytelling. We didn't see any paper thin characters anywhere. Sid. Who was the pirate lady's name? I can't remember. It's not Pervy.
Oh, Wanda Sykes' character. Shoot, what was
Yep.
her name?
But I mean,
Yeah.
Sid, Hemlock, Rampart, who came back this last season and kind of completed his full circle. Nala Se. Everyone was really well written, deep. They had, you could tell that they had stories outside of what was going on, and I just, really enjoyed it. So I'm going to give. Did I? Oh wait, I already gave it an 8.2, didn't I?
Yeah, an 8.2.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can't wait to watch it again. I've watched, Rebels all the way through a few times. I've watched the Clone Wars all the way through twice.
All the way through?
All the way through twice, yes.
Oh,
Then I've watched.
Usually when I go watch Clone Wars again, I'll skip most of the droid episodes.
I watched them. I did it before the final season came out. Just I wanted to because I'm like, my memory's not what it is. So I wanted to watch
I did
them all
watch
again.
the Jar Jar episodes though. I did that for all of you.
That's right.
I hope you know.
And I watched the droid episodes for you guys out there. You're welcome.
Oh, sorry. One other thing that we forgot to mention before we move on, and I am glad that they did this. Everybody kept telling us, and we didn't think it was going to happen, but a lot of people were out there theorizing, oh, they're going to bring Tech back. Tech's going to come back. They're going to reveal that Tech is one of those soldiers. I knew that they put too much emphasis on the fact that he had died, and they had brought it up multiple times. Like, I kind of figured, I feel like they're at a point where they're not going to play the games with Rebels, where it's like everybody has, say for Kanan, everybody has like, plot armor. So it was nice to see that they stuck to their guns,
And she had Tech's goggles on her
Yeah.
ship and a thing. That was
Yeah.
a nice little touch at the end. And I was like, man, darn it, Bad Batch, stop doing this to me.
And I love when Hunter said, "You'll always be my kid." Right there.
Yep. They may have to get involved with whatever's going on if we do see her in live action. It could be nice. They'll be older and grumpier, but it'll be nice to see.
As long as it doesn't turn out one of them was the clone in Obi-Wan.
Yeah, yes, no,
Don't need that.
not at all. But
Give to a veteran.
we need money for my daughter, Omega. But the one thing, and I almost forgot. We know that those other kids that were there that were saved, they did
They're
go
all
back to
Force
their
sensitive.
family. They're all Force sensitive, so
If their families are still alive.
right. And if they're not seen, maybe they stayed on Pabu, and maybe they joined the rebellion too, and maybe we see Omega and her Force sensitive crew with the little bird baby. Probably won't be a baby anymore, but
Maybe maybe they're going to be Luke's students for a little while anyway. Master Kylo, What do we do? The building's on fire. Boom.
Have you heard of the tale of Anakin Skywalker the Wise during Order
Oh,
66? What are you doing? You're not quite younglings, but you were at one point.
Lord. Right.
Well, should we talk a little X-Men 97, sir?
Keith, I think we should talk X-Men 97.
We know this is part one of three. Tolerance is extinction. And Doug was lucky enough to watch it before me. And he was raving about it on our Slack channel.
Keith.
Which sometimes when you have your hopes up too high and you watch an episode, you get let down. This was certainly not that case. Good God, is this show just way too good.
It's yes. That is something that I've been thinking about since yesterday. Is it too good? Because I tell you what, I watched that, and that's the reason why I wanted to talk about Bad Batch first, just because it kind of overshadowed Bad Batch. It was so phenomenal. This episode is good. The last episode was really good. The episode before that was really, really good. They are knocking it out of the park, to steal a phrase from an old friend. But I mean, I've been so impressed by this that you can tell how much love and care went into developing the stories, the characters. Clearly, the people who were the creatives behind this series. And I know, obviously, a lot of people are involved. You've got your writers, you've got your directors, you've got your showrunners, you've got your artists and voice actors. Everybody involved, you can tell, has a deep love and respect for these characters and these stories, and it really shows on screen that I'm genuinely concerned about anything else that has to air around it, because it overshadows it. It's so good. I cannot believe that I literally said to Keith, and once we get done talking about this episode, we'll see if I still feel that way, but I actually said to Keith in our Slack channel when we were discussing this, I could easily give this an 11 out of 10. I rarely rate things that high. I rarely give out 10s. It's just, we watch a lot of stuff. We watch a lot of things, and we developed this, 1 through 10 scale, with 5 being average, just as a way to kind of stay consistent about it. And I think both Keith and Dave would agree with me that, there are a lot of good stuff out there, but, very rarely do we find anything that is just like top tier, 10 out of 10 perfection, But when we're watching these episodes, I don't know what else to score them, because they're just, every single thing about them is so good.
This episode started out with the UN revealing that Xavier is still alive. Obviously, information fed to them from Bastion. And it reminded me...
And the way they're doing it, too. Oh, so underhanded.
It reminded me of, in the comics, during the, rise of Krakoa and the mutants there, the mutants had a way of bringing mutants back to life.
Mm-hmm.
And that information leaked. And, humans were up in arms about them basically being immortal or whatever. It really freaked them out even more about the difference between, Homo superior and Homo sapiens. And they are using almost that little piece, kind of like how it was used in the comics, the same way. And so it started out, and I'm just like, oh man. Okay, now the X-Men even have more stuff against them. There's going to be no sympathy for them. Anyone who was like, I can't believe what happened on Genosha, those people turned into, oh, what other secrets are they hiding from us? Thank God we got the ones we got. Very well thought out by Bastion to try to get all this stuff together. And then we find out, much like we learned in the What If animation, that the massacre on Genosha is an absolute point. It cannot be changed. And I was like, way to work in stuff from What If and make it relevant with all the time traveling and everything that goes on in the X-Men.
And did you see Beast pull up a timeline that actually looked like something from the TVA?
Yep. I was like, You guys are killing it. I could have stopped. I could
Yeah.
have watched 5 minutes of this episode, and probably gave it a 10. And then we get, Doctor Doom being completely Doctor Doom,
Of course.
and then we get. Oh my god!
Sometimes I struggle to call Doctor Doom a villain just because, like, he's, he does have his morals. He's like I may be for such and such, but I will not condone war crimes. It's like, okay, good on you, dude.
One of my favorite issues of the Fantastic Four comic, and we'll go into the tangent time a little bit here because it talks about Doom. Doom was
Okay.
always written out as this villain. He was always, he's bad, he's this, he's that, so and so is. Oh, we got a first time chat. Let's see.
Oh, nice.
Trow of Barton 2. I liked yesterday's X-Men episode. Yeah,
It was good.
I more than liked it.
Yeah.
So good. But
Yeah.
in this comic, written by one of my favorite, John Byrne, he was the writer and artist on these comics.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Doom is wanting to get back to, he's basically ousted from Latveria, and he's trying to get back in. And the Fantastic Four are kind of there, and they're like, we don't think this is a good idea. You don't need to be in control of the company. But it was funny because, like, a kid sees him, and the kid comes running over, and the Fantastic Four are like, oh my God, we got to. And the kid hugs Doom, and he says, I can't wait to tell my mommy that the Master is back. Things are going to be good again. Like, when he was running thing, everyone was fed. Everyone had work to do. Everything was, running good. They saw him there as their, monarch, their king, who kept everything, kept them safe, kept them warm, kept them fed. He's off trying to do world domination, but only because he thinks he can run the world better than it's being run. He thinks he's smarter than everybody. And that was really what made me, like, to me, Doom became so much more than a villain.
Well, it was funny. You've been posting, and people out there, in the chat, watching this on YouTube, watching this on Twitch. If you haven't checked this out, Keith has been posting a bunch of back issue breakdowns of Secret Wars. You can find them on YouTube. You can find them on TikTok. Definitely check them out. But it made me want to go back and watch the 90s Spider-Man version of Secret Wars. And at one point, Spider-Man teams up the Fantastic Four, and they're going to, take down all these villains. And they're going after Doom. They're on his planet. And, like, you can tell Spider-Man is, like, trying to figure out, like, well, why does Mr. Fantastic dislike this guy so much? Because he's like, they get there like, oh wow, this is really nice. He took this part of the planet, he turned it into a straight up utopia. And Mr. Fantastic, Reed, he was just like, yeah, of course Doom would do that. He would turn it, and it's like, why are you saying that like that's a bad thing? And everybody's running around and playing and having a good time. And Doom even explains, he's like, oh yeah, the other villains that got released here, they were tearing this place apart, but not Doom. Doom loves the people. Doom will make sure everybody is fed and everybody is living a good, happy life. And, like, he's true to his word. Like, exactly as you said it, he wanted to prove that he could do it better, that he could rule it better, and he did. I really was struggling to try and figure out, like, where he was in the wrong. And then he even comes up with some sort of scientific tool, like, just in his free time, that cures Ben Grimm of his disease too. And so even he's like, Reed, dude, I mean, come on.
Oh,
It was pretty cool.
Trow of Barton wants to jump to the end of the episode like we always do, so you're definitely
All right.
welcome in our chat. We always jump, but he's Magneto releasing his full power, and then Jubilee wearing her 2013 Run Mom outfit. That was such a great Easter egg.
Yeah,
With her wearing,
yeah.
She's like, "What do you think?" "Oh, I love it. I don't care." I was like,
I'm gonna wear it anyway. Yeah.
"That was so good."
Yeah.
But
Yes, Magneto. Okay. Can I just say that I mentioned this in the previous episode because they have not been shying away from it. And this is something that I've been hoping that they would shine more light on, is Magneto's backstory. They barely touched on it in the original series. I know why they had their limitations, Fox Kids, Saturday morning, there were certain things they couldn't say, certain things they couldn't show. We ended up finding out recently, this was something that even I didn't know, that one of the stipulations was they were not allowed to show the U.S. military in any sort of negative light. They couldn't allow them to be running things or being the bad guys. And one of the other things is they couldn't mention Nazis. They couldn't mention the fact that Magneto was a Holocaust survivor, anything like that. So they were very vague about a lot of it. And I am glad that they actually focused in. They showed his tattoo, and it's something that it's a very integral part of his character. And that's why, I've been saying in the past, whenever we've been discussing how are they going to introduce the X-Men into the current MCU, which I believe is what in like 2028 or something at this point.
There's been rumors that the X-Men movie is going to come out. In X-Men movie is going to come out before Secret Wars, but it'll be based in the universe that Monica Rambeau is currently in.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it'll almost be a multiversal X-Men movie, and then we'll get the official MCU X-Men probably after that. But and I wanted to talk about. I don't remember now. Darn it. Oh, after we got Doctor Doom, we went off a tangent on that. Baron Zemo.
Yeah, that's right.
That was fantastic.
We got Killmonger.
We got Killmonger. We got Omega Red.
Yep.
At the end of it. I mean, they're setting up stuff, and the whole thing with Nimrod kind of being Bastion's dad and how it all came about. And, when we do finally get, I was starting to like, how are they going to write out of this with all of these, human sentinels, and then, her releasing Magnus. And like you said, when she saw that number on his arm and understood what that was and what it meant, that was really the turning point where she ended up, releasing him. And at first, when Sinister called Bastion and said she released him, I can't believe she would do that. I thought he did. Because right before that, remember, he was talking how, Bastion thinks he's running the show, but I'm using him for my own purposes. And I thought this might be part of his plan, blaming her for doing it so he could create chaos and then Sinister could do what he wants. But we did find out that wasn't true. But, just seeing that number and nothing really else has to be said was pretty darn impactful. Just knowing what that is and what he had went through, and now he's, basically tied up on that X, And I had my doubts that he might turn back to his old ways after last week's episode. I don't anymore. He is going to be back his
he
war
went
on
full
humans. On. Yep. And
as Wolverine put it, he declared war.
And what a way, if this whole season, the main thing we get out of it is Magneto is back to his evil ways for season 2. Just kind of, the season's been great, but that'll be so nice. And I hate to say it, Bo released a tweet talking about one of his favorite X-Men issues. And it is issue 304 where Magneto does go back to being basically the head of the Brotherhood.
See, at this point, I'm kind of on Magneto's side. Like, I don't see what he knocked out the power in the world, but what else was he supposed to do? They didn't stand a chance against these human sentinels. Nothing they were doing was going to stop them. So, like, what other choice was there? I truly don't know what else he could have done, or what else anyone could have done. So, thinking, and saying enough, and going to the North Pole where his power is at its strongest, and using the magnetic waves of the Earth to basically be a human EMP, that was smart. That was good thinking. The fact that he was able to do that to knock it all out. Sure, he knocked out the power in the rest of the world, probably released Omega Red and a bunch of other villains that are locked up. But I'm still kind of on his side. I think it was warranted.
No, it definitely was. And Trowell Barton asks, who was the girl talking to Monitor with Doom and Baron Zemo? They purposely blurred her out, so we don't know. My first thought was Moira McTaggart, who in the comics kind of turned against the X-Men at one point. But she seemed more like a government agent of some type, so I'm not really sure who she was. They purposely sort of kept
her in the shadows. Yeah.
So I think we're going to find out maybe at the end of this season. setting up something with her, for an arc in season
Hmm.
two, or we'll see her in season two. But yeah, that was just seeing those wonderful little cameos. And I know that people were not happy with me saying that, to help with the loss of Gambit, seeing Nightcrawler in the opening was a joy to me. People were mad about it, and I meant no disrespect to Gambit. He is was a fantastic X-Men, but I just love Nightcrawler. He was part of that original team that got me into X-Men comics, and I've always enjoyed the character because he looks, like a demon, but he's one of the most religious guys. I'm not religious in any way, but him being religious and carrying on the way he does has always been my favorite. And seeing him with 3 swords fighting with Wolverine.
That was pretty cool. That was cool. See, this is another thing that I love that this series is doing. Just like how they're finally showing emphasis on, Magneto's backstory. I love that they're able to, and okay, let me preface this. We don't need straight up like blood and gore and violence in an animated series or in a series at all for it to be good. Like it can still be good with or without it. But the fact that they aren't restrained, that they don't have to do the Ninja Turtle thing like they did in the 90s where Leonardo, who has swords, has to like bop people on the head or use them to like block laser beams or something, can't actually use the swords to cut. Now that they're unrestrained, unrestricted from, network TV, it's nice to be able to see the X-Men use their abilities the way that they're meant to be used
Yes, seeing Wolverine being able to cut through those robots.
and turn off the TV like he did.
Yeah. And everyone who was complaining that we weren't getting enough Wolverine in this series because he was every scene in all the X-Men movies. I think they finally got their Wolverine scene, but the X-Men are much more than Wolverine. It's the entire team. And this series has done a tremendous job of keeping everybody in play. And, we got the wonderful little scene when Magneto did use his powers, seeing Spider-Man. That was the other, we may have posted a short with that little spoiler. We apologize if it ruined anything for you. But not even
I may have freaked out just a little.
No, I did too. What a great way to bring him in. He's not like all of a sudden showing up and fighting the bad guys. He's just in New York when that basically worldwide EMP hit. Like what's going on? And this is turning out to be, we've seen Captain America now, we've seen Spider-Man. We may see some more Avengers. We may even see the Fantastic Four since we did get, Doctor Doom in this episode. Not, like taking over the episode, but maybe there's like complete chaos in New York, and the X-Men are fighting Bastion, and they're fighting,
For me, when I was a kid, these Marvel animated series, this was kind of my first introduction to a connected universe. So the fact that, and they did this often enough that you knew that they were all taking place within the same universe, which is kind of unheard of for animated series at the time. But they would show Spider-Man hanging out in X-Men cartoons, or the X-Men hanging out in Spider-Man cartoons, or the Hulk. And then now they're doing it again. They're paying homage to that, where we've already seen now Spider-Man. We've seen Captain America. And I love that they're expanding the world. They're letting us know that, yeah, this is the X-Men. This is definitely the X-Men show. This is the X-Men's world. But they still live in a larger world with all of these other characters. And I love them for it.
And we got Captain or Miss Marvel at the time in the original animated X-Men series, so we may see Captain Marvel show up here. There's so much they can do, and as long as it doesn't distract from this X-Men story.
So far, it hasn't distracted me.
No,
they're putting in like just little bits here and there, and where it makes sense. It's not shoehorned in.
Yep, it's like Guardians of the Galaxy. You knew it was part of the MCU only because Thanos was there talking about the stones. Everything else was stuff we've never seen, and this is, just enough. We know Doctor Doom is in this world. We know Baron Zemo is in this world. We know that Omega Red is probably coming back. We know Spider Man's in this world. We know Captain America's in this world. It does enough
Which,
world building without overemphasizing or taking away from the main character's story.
by the way, get into the comments, get into the chat, let us know how excited would you be if Disney Plus, if Marvel Studios, if they decided to go ahead and bring back the '90s Spider-Man animated series in a similar way that they just did with X-Men '97. How awesome would that be if they, because it kind of left on a bit of a cliffhanger. So how cool would it be if they went ahead and they brought that back as well and started giving us more stories from this connected universe?
And would you like to see any of the others? Maybe not come back as its own animated series, but maybe show up. We had Fantastic Four, we had Iron Man, we had Silver Surfer, which a lot of people don't like that show.
Wasn't that only one season?
Yeah, it did
I
not.
think so. Yeah.
It was. I don't think kids were ready for it. They
Hmm.
still might not be ready for it. It was just a very. Like, the thing about Silver Surfer, he's a great character, and I've always enjoyed him. His comics have never taken off with the masses because they're usually about topics. It's not like this normal sort of superhero story. And I think that show is. If you've never watched it, watch it. I'm wondering what you think about it. But I can see where it didn't take off. But it'd be nice to see Silver Surfer pop in one of these shows. Have another major crossover event if we do get Spider-Man, the animated series back for another season or two. And we know X-Men is at least going 3 seasons now, I believe. We could have some crossover event. I take that back. There was an Avengers show during that time. Avengers United We Stand, which is one of the worst cartoons that I think has ever been made.
Yeah.
And I say that one of my favorite heroes, Wonder Man, was in it. And man, it was.
Yeah, wasn't that was it the West Coast Avengers? It was most of them.
Yeah, I think it was the Scarlet Witch. It was Vision. It was Wonder
Yeah,
Man.
they didn't have Iron Man, they didn't have Cap. Yeah, you're right. They had Scarlet Witch, they had Vision, they had Wonder Man. Didn't they also have oh my gosh, Pietro as well, or am I misremembering?
I think they did. Not he wasn't in it all the time, but like they all had armor. It was very.
Yeah,
It was not
it
good.
wasn't great.
But if they want to bring back the Avengers in this, maybe from like Earth. What was that? The Great Avengers show called. It only lasted 2 seasons. Was it Avengers: Earth Mightiest Heroes?
Oh, was that the one that did it? You're talking about the Avengers series that took place in the same universe as the Ultimate Spider-Man series, or the one that came out before that?
The one that came out before it. It was
Okay,
like on,
yeah.
It wasn't produced by Disney. Avengers Assemble was not good. But the one before it, I think it was Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. I think that's what it was called.
I remember a
2
few
seasons.
episodes of it. I didn't watch it regularly, but I do remember they did tackle some of the Ant-Man episodes, and those were pretty good.
And they did Secret
But they were-
Invasion, and they did it better than what we got in the MCU.
Oh, did they do Secret
Yeah.
Invasion for you? Oh, huh. Must have missed that.
Yeah, they did.
Should I go back and watch it?
I think you should. I mean, there's
Okay,
a lot
all
of
right, yeah,
quality
I'll check it
episodes
out.
in that. But it'd be great to see some sort of crossover event with all of them. And it may be, honestly, leading into Secret Wars and the multiversal saga in the MCU.
That would be cool.
They could
That
have
would be
all these
cool.
cartoon universes kind of coming together also in its own. And if they could time that out and make it all work,
Hmm.
people would probably be back full on with the MCU.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
Now, the question I wanted to pose to you after we saw Omega Red getting released,
Oh,
do you think we're going to see him this season, or do you think they're saving him for next
No.
season?
I think they're saving them for next season. I think this one is just going to mostly focus on the beginnings of a war between the mutants and the humans, and it's going to be up to Charles to determine where they fit on this. Is he finally going to agree with Magneto and join forces with him, or is he going to still try to be the peacekeeper and make his X-Men try and broker, some sort of like, oh, it's okay if they turned humans into Sentinels and killed many of us and also blew up all of Genosha. It's fine. We're cool. Just leave us alone and we'll all be cool again. Like, I don't know if Charles is going to really, after those atrocities, I don't know if he's gonna still try to be the peacekeeper or if he's gonna join Magneto at this point.
I think he will be the peacekeeper. I think X-Men comics are the best when it's basically Charles and his X-Men basically fighting, Magneto and the Brotherhood almost, with
Hmm.
Magneto wanting to destroy all humans and Charles like, we can't be that way. We can't be what they think we are. And I don't think Charles will go that way because he came back to save his X-Men, and it was great too when he came back. That
Come to
space,
me, my X-Men.
the outfit he had on, like the
Oh yeah.
spacesuit, was right out of the comics.
Yep.
That was so great. And yes, to me, my X-Men, and we're finally getting hopefully Storm back next episode because she was part of that call, and seeing Omega level
I
mutants just unleashing
I
their power.
swear. I swear if they destroy my goodwill and just use Storm to like turn everybody's power back on, I'm gonna be so mad.
God, I hope I didn't think that. I hope they don't do that because I don't think that's how power works.
Lightning, I call to you. Oh, good, my lamp's working.
Oh, our lights are back on. And yes, Trowa Barton 2. Yes, Storm is back with her X-Men gold uniform.
Yes. Oh
Nothing
my
made
gosh.
me happier than seeing that transition.
Hmm.
I don't dislike the Mohawk
So cool.
Storm, but this goddess Storm is once again the Storm I grew up on and love it. Cannot wait to see her in action again. Just seeing all the things going on. Gonna be fantastic. So was there anything else? God, we jumped around quite a bit. Was there anything else that we
We
were kind
did.
of missing?
Well, we didn't talk really a whole lot about Bastion's backstory or the fact that he even turned his mom into one of those things. But they
Oh,
did switch up his story a little bit in this show than they did from the comics. If I understand his backstory from the comics, he was, um, wasn't he like Nimrod originally that got put into a human?
yes. He
And then he
wasn't a
just
kid.
ended up, okay. But in their new backstory they wrote for this, Nimrod was again put into a human, but it was just like a janitor, and then somehow he passed it through his DNA when Sebastian was born, and in throughout his entire childhood, he just had these visions, and I like the way the mother phrased it. His oh god, and it was kind of gross, but like I get it. Like, oh, his final dream. It's like, oh, I know what you're saying. Okay. And then after that, you're gonna show us Magneto's Holocaust tattoo. Got it. All right.
Subtle.
Real subtle, guys. But like I said, I like some of the changes that they're making. Because one thing that I will say, and I do not mean this in any negative way whatsoever, but some of the stuff that they do in comics is good for comics, but it's a little too goofy to be outside of the world of comics. So I am glad when they make some changes, some minor changes like that do make sense. Not everything needs to be a one for one. And in this case, I think it served the story well, the way that they changed up Bastion's backstory a little bit. And on top of it all, I'm going to once again praise us. I talked about this in our Bad Batch review, but the voice actor that they got to play Bastion, phenomenal work, phenomenal work. And that was Theo James, by the way. Again, a lot of people were saying, he was a fan favorite, and they were kind of teasing, oh, okay, he is coming back to X-Men '97, but we're not going to tell you who he is. And then we end up finding out, oh, okay, he's voicing Bastion and doing just a really good job. I almost confused him for the same voice actor that played Hemlock in Bad Batch, just because he's got that very calm, cool, and collected way of speaking. Like, yes, well, this is my final dream, and it will go exactly as I intended to. So Magneto escaped. Oh well, it's all part of my plan. I will figure out where we're going to go from here. The only time where he kind of stuttered a little bit, where he faltered just a little bit, was when he was discussing what's his name, kind of going rogue and doing his own thing. the dude with the mustache, working with
Yeah, Henry Gyrick.
yeah, him. When he kind of like went off and did his own thing, that clearly was not part of his plan. And so he sort of faltered a bit when he brought that up. Yes, well, we will, come back from that. But everything else, like he's been manipulating things from the beginning of this season so far, and oh man,
You know, and
they're doing such a good job with this.
we talked about it last week how Bo DeMeo, the showrunner for season one,
Yep.
had said Bastion is in every episode except for three. And I didn't watch it, but heavy spoilers, went back and found him in every episode.
Oh, did they?
Put out a
I didn't
video.
watch that.
I didn't see it yet either, but I want to watch it because I
Nice.
don't have time to go over it. But yeah, just the small little details like that just make shows like this, much much better. They every little thing they do has a purpose and a meaning. And I wonder with the fact he did not seem overly surprised that Magneto was freed. I don't know if he is going to be too happy with him and how he shut down all of his human sentinels.
Yeah, he may not have expected that to happen. In fact, actually, I don't know how many people expected that, but I do find it a little funny that Wolverine knew right away that it was Magneto that was responsible for that. Like, I don't think there were any cameras on him in the North Pole, but I
Well,
think
we saw it, so there had to be one.
but as soon as like those magnetic waves were flowing and like all the power's getting knocked out, it's like he actually did it. What did he and who was it? Morph was talking to him, and I think he was like, oh yeah, he helped save us. He saved our butts from those Sentinels. No, he declared war, bub. It's like oh yeah, I guess he kind of did. I mean, honestly, again, still, I'll say it again. I don't know what other solution there would have been though.
I'm with you. This was about the only way to handle because everyone was, Scott, Jean, and Cable were all on
Yeah.
the verge of being overwhelmed. Nightcrawler
Speaking
and
of
Wolverine were
Jean,
about to be overwhelmed.
did you see the little bit of Phoenix Force coming out of her
I
for a minute
did.
there?
I did. I was like, oh, they're bringing that back at some point.
Hmm.
They're probably like, that Dark Phoenix movie was so tremendous.
Oh,
And they just want
wait, which one?
the one, the good one.
Oh, the one where they moved the San Francisco Bridge.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, all right.
And the one with Sansa Stark.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh, and Trowa Barton, the Summers family united. Yes, that was fantastic. And the fact that Cable and Scott don't get along.
Yeah.
Well done. And yes, we even saw Hope Summers in that one future. That was a cool little cameo too. I almost forgot about that one.
I love Scott, yelling out, "You don't mess with the Summers family."
Yeah, and you don't. That was Jean driving. I didn't know why she just didn't drive the car. Why she had to use her telekinesis to drive the car. But him blasting a hole through the mountain while Cable's blasting him, following him. And then when
Right.
you see them, like the car blows up and she puts the, sort of shield around them so they can land and they're about to turn around and that. Man, so many great scenes in this episode. Every episode.
I've got a question for you, and I guess for those people in the chat and in the comments as well. Now, the way that Bastion was explaining, and the way that he showed the process of, dipping these people into the tanks in order to, I guess, infect them with the technovirus. I assume that's what's happening
Yes.
to turn them into. So, was he implying that every one of those humans consented to this? Did they all come to his lab and he?
No.
Okay,
Some did, but he forced it on others.
all right,
And
because that was a lot of people.
it was. I think his mom underwent it, willingly.
I don't know if she did it willingly because I don't know.
She
That
was
just
oh, you guys showed up a day earlier.
No,
Well,
who
just
did-
let me go
did
pack
she-
my things.
I thought maybe she was talking to like she thought that she was going to like an old folks home or something. Oh, he said you were coming tomorrow. I'll just get my things. But then when she ended up like, oh yes, that was his final dream to destroy all mutants. I'm like, oh no.
Not
She's
her.
one
Not
of
that nice little grandma.
them. He did it to his mom too. That's so messed up.
We just got a new follower, Jessica Scott. Thank you so much. Welcome to the channel. How is it
Welcome,
going?
welcome.
It's going well. We're talking obviously X-Men 97 right now. Welcome to the channel. We talk all comics, MCU, DC, Star Wars. We talk about it all. So welcome in. We appreciate
Movies, TV shows, all the stuff.
it. And what were we just talking about? I got thrown off.
We were just talking about Bastion's mom
Oh
and
yeah.
talking about the Super Sentinels.
Yeah, and all of those Sentinels, yeah, 100%. I did not pick up Marvel Blood Hunt #1 yesterday yet.
No.
Unfortunately, with kids and family and everything, I almost read all my comics on Marvel Unlimited. So I think I get it in like 3 weeks. But I'm definitely looking forward to Blood Hunt.
Well, this Saturday is Free Comic Book Day, and I will be visiting some comic book stores. It's real sad. I've got a few loose spots. I'm not going to say empty, but a few loose spots in here, and I do need to fill them up. So I'm going to have to definitely get some comics.
Excellent. I will be at Free Comic Book Day. Free Comic Book Day also with the kids. Maybe get a bubble tea over at State of Comics.
Ooh, that'd be good. I could go for another one. You know what? I will cheat and I'll get another one.
Oh, and issue 0 of Blood Hunt is free on Saturday. I will definitely be
Really?
picking that up. So
Oh,
thank
yeah,
you.
I got to get a copy too then. For sure.
But okay, back to X-Men 97.
Yes.
The question is, EMPs only take out electronics for a limited amount of time. So are we going to see some of these come back? And thank you for the follow, Trowel Barton 2. Definitely appreciate that. Welcome in. You've been here
Thank you
for a
very
little
much.
bit.
By following us, you have become a fellow nerd.
That's right. Welcome in. And we usually stream Thursday nights. We put up YouTube stuff. We do all the nerdy stuff possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if some of these Sentinels are going to come back online at some point, especially as they start, getting the power back on. But
I think so.
We saw.
You know what? You know the direction that I think. Let me just theorize real quick. And you can correct me. I might be wrong. We don't. Unfortunately, Dave isn't here to reel us in. So I'll need you here. You know what? I'll give this to you real quick. You can borrow my brakes. You may need to pump the brakes a bit.
Okay.
Okay. I know that you just said that EMPs don't always last forever, but this is a comic book world with magic mutant powers. I think what they're going to do is they're going to set up for the next season where it's going to be like, a dark Earth. And a lot of the humans are going to form into different groups that may end up hating the mutants more because, these mutants caused this to happen. They're making us live without power, without electricity, and it's going to cause the divide even further, and it's going to be even more work for Charles and the X-Men to try and repair. So they're not just going to end up having to fight Magneto. They're going to have to deal with these, obviously very angry people that are, and who knows, they might end up blaming the X-Men for the Super Sentinels as well.
And they very well could. And they could always, before the power does come back on, they could always just destroy all the robots. We did see, Wolverine cutting them up and Cable blasting them. They're not invulnerable, so they definitely could be taken out. Now that they're all inert, they could just go by and, double pop them all to make sure they don't come back online. But I like that theory. I didn't even think about that. I just assumed maybe not the next episode, but by the end of the season, the power will be restored, throughout the world. But they definitely are going to be like, we know you mutants did this, showing off your powers. Oh, you're so much better than us. We'll get you.
Yeah, but I really think that what the story is setting up, I think they're increasing the animosity. I think they're increasing the divide. They're not just making this your run-of-the-mill Saturday morning cartoon. I think they're definitely exploring a lot more of a gray area where it's like, like I said, they've got me kind of standing here like, I'm with Magneto. Like, I suppose if I was living in that world and I was just your average run-of-the-mill human, yeah, I'd probably be a little upset that my fridge wasn't working. I mean, my power went out a little bit over the weekend, and it for a couple of hours, and I was like mildly upset that I didn't have internet or TV or anything. Now imagine if you had like a mutant knock basically become an EMP and knock out the world's power. Might be a bit annoying, and then especially if it doesn't get resolved right away, I could see that causing some issues. And
Well,
if that is the direction that they're going in, if they are setting this up and this could end up carrying over into the next season, that would be cool. That'd be a really cool way to set up a unique story where, you know, the mutants are kind of right, the humans have a reason to be upset.
yeah, and Trial of Barton too. So are these Sentinels going to end up like the overpowered one in the Days of Future Past movie? I don't think so.
Mhm.
I think Nimrod is obviously one of the ones that is an ultimate Sentinel Prime almost. Bastion the same way. I think they're going to limit those because that'll be like a future thing. Cable will be back and be like, by the time my day is, the Sentinels are overpowering because they've got to be
Mhm.
able to fight them off a little bit, and it's when they have waves and waves of them, they got to be able to stop a few at a time. Nimrod will be the one that maybe is the final fight of this season where they're having an extremely tough time, and maybe we get some additional X-Men that we've seen, like Colossus showing up, or
Yes.
some of the other X-Men that we don't really see that much. Havoc, Polaris. We could see a whole bunch of X-Men gathering around for this final fight against Bastion
We
and Nimrod.
what we were talking about earlier. Maybe this is one of the ways that they're going to expand the larger Marvel animated world.
Yeah, and that'd be great to see. We already saw Spider-Man and Captain America. We could see Iron Man, the Hulk, the Avengers, Fantastic
How
Four.
funny would it be if Doctor Doom sided with the X-Men or with Magneto?
Oh my God, that would be cool. And whoever they had doing the voice, I meant to look that up and I forgot to, was perfect. His Doctor
Yeah, oh
Doom.
yeah. There's been That's one of the things about this series. All of the voice acting is so good. I've been thoroughly impressed.
Me too. I mean, obviously the ones that came back from X-Men '97 have continued to do a great job, but everyone they hire is just perfect. So it's great. Now, and Jessica, we do have a on-staff graphic designer. We do appreciate the offer, but we do have someone that can do that, so we appreciate it. Well, it's almost 10 o'clock. Getting a little
Oh wow,
late here on
boy.
the East Coast. I know time flew
So
by.
should we rate this episode then?
I think we
Not
should.
that I think we kind of pretty much already said it, but give it a good proper rating.
That's
So
right.
now I did mention in our Slack channel I would be willing to give this an 11 out of 10. Obviously, I'm not going to break the Doug scale. I I think Rebel Moon was a very special experience, and that deserved breaking the Doug scale just because I loathed that movie so much. But I'm not gonna break it for this. This is one of the normal things that we would have watched normally. So I'm going to rate this episode a 10 out of 10 because once again, blown away. I was blown away from start to finish. Everything about this was perfection. The animation on point, the voice acting perfect, just good. Bastion's voice actor so good. The story great. The cameos. Yes, I squealed like a little girl. So what? Sue me.
No one heard you.
Everything about it was so good. I fell in love with the stories that they gave us. That I felt for Magneto when he softly said enough. I was like, yes. And then when Charles came back and pulled off that goofy spacesuit, and then he did his "To Me, My X-Men." I mean, what a way to end the episode. And is it next week Wednesday yet, Keith?
I wish.
I wish to.
It's going to take way
So,
too
yeah.
much time.
Easy 10 out of 10.
And just so you know, Troll Barton 2, is it better than episode 5? Probably about the same. We gave that 10s also. I mean, episode 5 was just one of the best animated shows I've ever seen, and this one is there
Oh
too.
yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
definitely right along with Doug. This was a 10 out of 10. It was perfectly paced, wonderful story, wonderful voice acting. Seeing fights, fight scene choreography between Nightcrawler and Wolverine, I've always wanted to see that. It was perfectly done in this. The Summers clan fighting together, everything going on. Magneto with, you know, finding out he was a Holocaust survivor too, and when he was imprisoned by Bastion, they didn't
Hmm.
overdo it. It was touched on. It was perfect. Explained why he got freed. We're getting just enough of Mister Sinister, so when he shows up in season 2 after Bastion has been defeated, we'll get a better story or a more sinister centric story then. But they're setting things up so incredibly well for the end of this season, for next season. I love this show. 10 out of 10. I can't wait for the last 2 episodes of this season. I want season 2 to get here. If we have to wait like we had to wait between Invincible season 1 and season 2, we are definitely
Don't do
riding.
that to me.
We will be marching at dawn. We will be getting out to wherever we have to go.
You know what? I'm getting on Amazon right now. I'm gonna order a torch and a pitchfork because they bet don't do that to me, Disney.
They better not.
I mean, to take the time that you need to make it right. Please do not rush your animators and give us, a crap project. But please don't make it like 2 years.
Yeah, don't give us the animation we got on the final season of X-Men the Animated Series. Keep doing what
Mhm.
you're doing. Just don't take too long.
Right.
Once again, everyone out in the chat, what is your guys' thoughts on this episode? Are we crazy for thinking it's a 10 out of 10? Or are we spot on? We'll let you guys answer. And, you know, I am hoping, we every one of these episodes has been 25 minutes, 30 minutes. They're definitely kind of letting the story dictate how long it is. So I wonder if we're going to get,
Which is good.
yeah, a season. If part 3 of this, the season finale, episode 10, is going to be, 45 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour, somewhere along those lines. But once again, only make it as long as the story needs it to be. Don't extend it.
Exactly.
But so far they've done everything great. It's hard. It just boggles
Save for
my
the
mind.
Motendo episode.
Yeah. Yes. And
That's like the only weird outlier.
am I the only weird person who, like, before I watch every new episode, I'm like, is this where it falls off? God, they cannot keep this quality up. And I'm like, oh, please be good. And then I watch
I
it, I'm like,
have been concerned about that. Especially after this last episode. That was a legit concern. I just kept saying, like, this was too good. It was too good, and I'm so afraid that I'm going to be disappointed by what comes next.
but so far that hasn't been the case. I hope it
Hmm.
continues. But thanks everybody for joining us in the chat. We're going to try to find somebody to raid now. Those of you who are watching on YouTube and wondering what we're talking about, on Twitch, you can send everyone watching you basically over to watch somebody else that you like or appreciate, and, you know, hope them to be good. And let's see who we got here. We got anyone?
How about the person that I was watching before our stream?
Who was that?
Laura Dreaming.
I am not following them, but it sounds good to me.
I think she's a smaller. She's got 25 people watching right now. She's playing Fallout 4, and I think she actually knows what she's doing because she's wearing a vault suit. So
Oh, that's awesome. Spell her,
yeah,
or put it in the chat.
I just put it in the chat.
The YouTube
Whoops.
chat.
Oops.
There we go.
I accidentally put it in her chat.
Well, she's probably like, "What on earth is
Yeah,
that
exactly.
weirdo
Like,
doing?"
what the hell's wrong with him?
Okay, so we are gonna raid Laura Dreaming. Thanks everybody for coming out. Thanks for the follows tonight, Jessica and Trowa Barton too. We appreciate it. We'll be back next Thursday talking X-Men '97. But we are going to raid Laura Dreaming, and look for us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram,
MySpace. I don't know.
Threads, MySpace, all that good stuff. But we appreciate everyone coming out. We always love the conversation.